Love.
Good morning, good
Laid
afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the
Bear.
world. You're through to another episode of Love Lay Bear, and I'm, of course, your host, Dionne. How are we? How have we been since last week? Now, today I want to introduce a topic that I've covered before, and that is co-parenting. I think the last time I actively had a discussion on this was probably back in 2018. Co-parenting is still something that is a very big topic. There are currently 2.96 million single parent homes, which obviously means that, you know, a lot of co-parenting needs to go on. And, you know, the separation of families is also on the increase. You know, I've had a lot of discussions and talks with people in the lead up to this episode because people genuinely feel quite passionate about it. I think before I became a parent, I can honestly say that more than often, I would have sided with the woman in the situation, I'm going to be honest. But as the years have gone by and I've spoken to a lot more men, it's become quite obvious that actually there are two sides to every story. Now, with that being said, I want to introduce a guest, a good friend of mine. I've not seen him for a very long time. But Aaron, can I introduce you? Come through.
What is going on, people?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, sis. It's been too long.
I know. I'm just trying to think. So the last time, I know you did a Dose of Dionne episode, maybe back in 2019.
You were like literally the first podcast that really reached out to me. Like smile as much as you want, but you was the first podcast that showed me love, and I remember the setup and how you've grown is mad. So be proud.
Oh, thank you. No, but you also be proud. I mean, obviously, I've been, as you guys know, I've been missing for like over a year, and I've come back to see you doing so much fantastic work. Like, your growth has been phenomenal. How have you been finding things?
Stress. Like, you know, for anyone trying to grow a social media page, you're always focused on the numbers, and you're like, you know what, I just want more followers. But with that comes more questions, more interaction needed, and it's so hard to keep on top of things. And then you've got the dopamine, like, hormone that's released. Like, you get a like, and then you search for more like. You want that kind of constant boost. So I've had to delete Instagram from my phone.
Wow.
It was getting that bad. Like, literally, I think in the last 2 days, 1,000 followers. I think I had 500 today. So yeah, like, people are writing in essays, writing in for advice. It's a lot. It's a blessing, because I'm able to build upon it, but it's a big responsibility.
No, I understand
it started, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
So no overnight success, no overnight anything. Everything is consistency and just the willingness to grow, the willingness to learn from your past and hopefully help others with it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I feel like you've almost become like a specialist in the co-parenting arena. Would you agree with that?
I don't want to agree with that. I won't say no to it. I feel like all I'm really doing is sharing my experience, which a lot of people can relate to, and also owning my mistakes.
Yes.
Which I don't think a lot of us do.
Absolutely.
So if people can learn from my mistakes to prevent them from making it, it's a win. But we just have to be open-minded to that. I think a lot of the time, as men, I get a lot of, as soon as I say as men, just for the record, as soon as I say as men, people in the comments, no, not all men are like this, women this, women that. But I feel like as men, we don't often, like, it's easy to point the finger, the woman this, the woman this, the woman this. Yeah. I think we have to own our role, especially in a co-parent relationship.
And, you know, as I was saying in the introduction, I feel like the more men I speak to, sometimes it is a bit 50-50. And, you know, I do want to kind of talk about how we even get to that point where the communication in particular becomes very toxic. I did a poll on Twitter and also asked for, you know, people's comments and stuff like that. I asked my followers, what is the most challenging aspect of co-parenting? 39% said healthy communication. 25% said the time spent with the child. 18% said money was a big factor, and another 18% said that new relationships also have been quite challenging for them. Any quick thoughts on, those?
They're like the key elements to successful co-parenting, right? I think communication, as soon as I heard that, I was expecting that straight away. I think one of the big problems with communication is people expect different things when it comes to it.
Yes.
And there should be kind of like a what's needed and a what's wanted.
Yeah.
And if you look at it this way, if you look at a normal relationship, right? A normal intimate relationship, forget co-parenting, right? Less communication in a normal relationship would probably damage the relationship.
Absolutely.
Right? However, less communication in a co-parent relationship can actually strengthen it.
Interesting. Do you want to expand on that?
Because sometimes you're communicating too often. You're checking in every day. You're communicating about things you don't need to, and therefore it's creating more conflict. In a normal relationship, you want to ask your girl, how was your day? Who did you go out with yesterday? What's going on? You're communicating. There's a need to, because there's so many things to communicate. In a co-parent relationship, we need to remove all of that extra stuff and just talk about the child. So therefore, there's less need to communicate as much. Because if you speak at 10 o'clock, how's my child? My child's fine. You don't need to call again at 2, how's my child?
Yeah.
Yeah. You might not even need to call the next day, how's my child?
Yeah.
You know your child's okay.
Yeah.
But that need to, I want to know every day, I want to check in every day, can actually create more conflict.
Do you know, I love the fact you brought up that point, because I was talking to someone the other day and they said the same thing. They said, communication that's necessary. And he gave an example of, a friend of his who's, I don't like the term baby mum, but the mother of his child got upset because he hadn't asked how her holiday was. So I said, well, in normal day-to-day life, if you're at work or your neighbour, you've been away, anyone would say to you, how was holiday? So we kind of had a little bit of a back and forth on that, but he stood on the point of, communication that is necessary. Now, my kind of take on that was, well, for me, how I see that is there still must be some level of either toxicity or ill feelings that you're not able to have that conversation just to merely say, well, how was your holiday? You've been away, you've had a break from the kids. How was it?
But what if you're not interested?
That's what he said.
Like, in that sense of, like, there's people that I'm genuinely cool with, that are friends that may have gone on holiday the other week, and I'm not really checking in to find out how their holiday was because I'm not really interested. It doesn't mean they're not a good friend. It's just, why have a conversation for the sake of it? Like, make it either something you're genuinely interested in, or else it comes across fake. Like, how was your holiday? And then they go into a rant and you switched off. Like, but you just wanted to ask to be nice. I feel again, we're doing things that are unnecessary. It might be nice, but it shouldn't affect anything if it's not done.
See, okay, that's interesting. I mean, I was saying to him, I was like, if my ex-husband's gone away on holiday, I'll say, how's your holiday? If I've gone away, he'll say, how's your holiday? But I feel like we've built up such a good, not to say that we've not had our problems and what have you, but I think because we do maintain a level of, a friendship per se, that he will check in on my well-being, and it just didn't take anything away from us to just say, how was your holiday? You know what I mean?
You said ex-husband though, right?
Yeah.
I feel like throwing a husband into it in any way shows that you two are on a certain level.
Okay.
Beforehand, right? So, like, there's going to be a level of respect, a level of decency. I just feel, regardless, because there's years that you lot have put in, some people may have a child with someone, but have only known that child for 6 months or a year. Like, it doesn't, like, their relationship beforehand might have been completely different. So,
okay.
and it takes a lot of, I don't want to say, like, just because a man is a certain age doesn't mean he's an adult.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we often think, you know what, I'm 20, I'm a big adult now, I'm a big man. Like, no, there's people that are 25, probably adulting more than people that are 40. It's based on how you deal with situations. It's not based on the age. It's the same as parenting. Just because you've had a baby doesn't
make you a good parent.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's roles and responsibilities that make you that. Like, acting a certain way makes you an adult. Being a certain type of way with your child makes you a parent, makes you a father. Like, donating your sperm, so to speak, and then bouncing and using the role, I'm a father, I don't like that. Because your role, how you're moving on a daily basis, is not fulfilling the requirements of a father.
Okay. I was speaking to another friend and...
Your friends, boy.
Yeah. The thing is, whenever I throw topics out, you know, because people know what I do, they tend to give me a lot of feedback about their feelings about, their personal things. And I think a good point that one of my friends made was that sometimes you have dads or fathers who feel like they're doing the absolute most, but because the bar is so horrendously low, in actual fact, they're probably mid-range in terms of actually doing what they could do at full capacity. As a father yourself, what are your thoughts on that?
When you say doing the most, what the man thinks he's doing the most?
Yeah, so the man thinks that, you know, in terms of his role in this co-parenting relationship, he's doing brilliantly. He's a fantastic dad. However, he might only see the children maybe once every 2 weeks, but maybe he pays on time and stuff like that. He does check in, but, you know, the majority of the load is still on the mother. So what I found is that a lot of women have also said, you know, in terms of splitting the time equally, and sometimes that's not always possible because, you know, people live in different places, work commitments and stuff like that. But they still don't necessarily feel like, you know, there's an even distribution in terms of time, physical time spent with the child.
I mean, like you said, that might not always be possible. And also, who sets the bar?
Who sets
like,
the bar?
What is determined as a good father of my child? For example, I'm sure I could find a woman right now who, if I gave her baby dad to another woman, that new woman would be mad appreciative, but yet she's not.
Yeah.
Because it's all relative, right? We look at what we're going through and we're like, you know what, this man ain't doing the most, but another woman would die to have a man just do those things.
Yeah.
So who's setting the bar? And I think that's what we have to look at. What is actually necessary? What would we like to happen? But is the man doing all he needs? Would you just like some icing on the cake now? Like, where is that? I just think that we have to understand what determines a good baby father.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So what in your mind determines a good father in a co-parenting relationship?
Right. I want to remove the word co-parenting.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think when we use that word, we're now concerned about the relationship between the dad and the mum.
So you don't think that's an important element?
But I'm saying your role is to parent. You're not meant to parent the parent. You're there to parent the child, right? And do the best possible job. When we think of co-parenting, we automatically now connect how I get on with the mum or how I get along with the dad. How is our relationship? And a man could be a brilliant parent to the child and not really speak to the mum. Does that mean he's a bad co-parent? He's doing the greatest job he sees his child maybe 50% of the time. They split that. He pays money. He's very active with his child. But you know what? He can't stand the mum and therefore doesn't really communicate with her. Does that affect the type of co-parent he is now?
I think I'm very much of the opinion that, you know, in order to have a holistic, successful co-parenting that benefits the child, I think that it's important that the parents should at least be able to be cordial, should at least be able to be civil, because you know we have children, so we all know there's things like parents' evening, there's activities, you know, there's things like behaviours and stuff like that that have to be discussed between the two parents. Now, if you're not, if you're in a place where you can't stand that person, how are you going to have that effective communication?
I'm playing devil's advocate, right? Why do those things have to be discussed? You said parents' evening, you said this, you said that. There's certain men out there that will not be interested in that.
No, absolutely.
So I think, again, it's that line of, in this relationship, the person would like to know about parents' evening, to know about this, to know about that, to maybe sit down and have a family meal at a birthday and do all of these extra things. But in terms of just focusing on what we're meant to, which is the child's physical, mental well-being and their growth, I think we can do that and have minimal contact. I think you can have a very successful co-parent relationship and have minimal contact with the other parent.
But then, yeah, I hear that. But then, like you say, then that removes the doesn't it?
Which I don't agree with anyway. I think you are two people parenting a child. Like, I think all co-parenting means is the intimate relationship is finished. That's all it means. Your role has not changed. Your intimacy with the parent has changed, but your role hasn't. When we add we all of a sudden think of a new role. And it's not. Our job is to parent. Our job has always been, whether or not we're together or we're apart, we still have the same job, which is to raise this child the best way possible.
No, absolutely. So, okay, so in an example, you have a child that's playing up at school, or they're playing up at home with one particular parent. Let's say they're playing up with their mum. Now, if you two have a relationship, like you say, where you can't stand her, but she needs your assistance in helping to balance this child out, how is that going to be successful if you're not prepared to communicate?
No one said you're not prepared to communicate. My initial thing, just for anyone watching that starts throwing daggers in the comments, my initial thing was you might not get along with the mum. You might not really like the mum. You might not rate how she's moving or how she's behaved to you. She may have cheated on you, which is why you're not together. So there may be some real animosity, which means that you do not want to really interact with this person. You just want to be there for your child and keep it moving. And I feel like in those scenarios, you can still be a great parent and that relationship between you and the mum can be minimal. I'm not talking about you're cussing her out in front of the child. Anything like that, I'm not an advocate for. But I'm saying highs, buys, keep it moving, minimal interaction. Your child may still see like, you know what, mum and dad are cool. It looks like mum and dad are cool. But you know, I don't rate that person because of how they've been. Like, I think that's possible.
I mean, so that was quite a good segue to kind of get into this next part that I kind of wanted to go into. And it's about letting go of the past for the betterment of the child and the co-parenting relationship. So I love the example you used of, you know, maybe she might have cheated on him and what have you. I think the majority, I guess, in terms of people or genders that have suffered with infidelity tends to be the women's side.
Okay.
That has probably, more than likely, I mean, I don't have any stats, so don't quote me, but it tends to be the women that have suffered the infidelity as a result of their male partner, and that could have contributed to the end of the relationship. But like you say, there's caveats because we don't, you know, people have children under so many different circumstances. Sometimes there's been long-term relationships, sometimes there's not. And, you know, you have to try and almost navigate each other to find where you sit and how you can kind of get along. So given that example then, so if you have women who then have had to deal with that, are they then, are you kind of saying then that, you know, not that it's okay for them to kind of act the way they do, but am I making sense?
Yeah. So let's take an example, right? So a man and a woman are together. The woman, I had someone ask a question the other day, actually. Like, so the man has told the woman while she's pregnant, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now she has to go forward, believing like I was only having this child because you said we was going to be together, and now you've pulled the plug.
Mm-hmm.
It's animosity, right?
Yeah.
But I feel that I feel like in co-parenting, especially with women, we have to make sure that the woman is okay, especially if she's pregnant or if she's the main carer.
Mm-hmm.
Her mental well-being needs to be looked after, either by herself or I just feel that that's important.
Very.
And I feel if you've broken up, or it's very toxic, step back. And when I say step back, I'm not saying block that person from seeing the child. I'm saying you have to put yourself as a priority. Mm-hmm. I think people fear, you know what, if I take a week away from chatting to the dad, he's going to say that I'm a bad mum or that I'm stopping him from seeing the child. Mm-hmm. If that man has done you wrong or done you something which requires you to now take a step back to breathe, allow him to still come and take the child, but your interaction with him, take a step back from it. Completely figure yourself out and ensure that you're okay. I think sometimes we're so worried that the other person is going to say we're preventing them from seeing the child, especially woman to man.
Yes.
That you will accept so much rubbish because you don't want that title attached to you. And I just think if you know your intentions are pure and you know what, I'm struggling right now, it's okay to take that step back, in my eyes, as a man saying that as well. If it's gonna secure your mental well-being, do what you need to do.
It's this discussion, because I feel like we're probably too well-balanced, reasonable.
I'd like to think so, yeah.
People, right? But, there's so many, I think, ex-couples or what have you, where one person might be reasonable and the other one is completely unreasonable. It doesn't matter what they try and do to try and make this situation flow as easily as they can. There's always sometimes one person that is determined to essentially cause a riot at any given situation. What advice would you kind of give to a woman that's dealing with an ex-partner or the father of her child that is literally intent on causing havoc?
This is going to sound mad, accept who they are. Do not look at them as, I think we often look at someone and we're like, if they would just change, or you know what, if I do this, they might be able to do this. And if I change the way I am, maybe it will change their behavior. Yeah. I think sometimes when we're dealing with difficult people, we have to accept that person's going to be difficult. Yeah. I need to now prepare myself and protect myself from being affected by how difficult they are. For example, you may have a schedule with your children's father which requires him every weekend to come and collect the kids. Mm-hmm. And he's been pulling the plug last minute every weekend, and it's messing up your plans because now you can't go out. Yeah. You're aware of how this person is. You now need to put preventative measures in place to stop that from happening. For example, it may be, you know what, Mum, can you watch the kids this weekend? Or I'm going to get my baby dad to collect the kids from yours. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if he doesn't, I know that you're okay to have them for the weekend. Yeah. The man might be like, I'm not going to the mum's. No, if it's been repetitive behavior, I feel like you can put those measures in place because it protects you. I was someone that had conflict with my eldest mum, and she said to me, you know what? From now on, you need to collect your child from my mum's. And it meant me driving past hers to get to grandma's. And it was annoying, it was frustrating, but because I wanted to see my child, I did it. If a man isn't willing to do certain things like that, you've got to question, is his desire really there to see the child? Yeah. If he won't drive an extra 10 minutes, if he's going to get you, no, that's long, I'm not coming to get my child. Okay, if that's all it takes to put you off getting your child, how serious was you about seeing your child in the first place? And these measures are only in place because of how difficult you've been in the first place. Yeah.
What is it about the male ego? So, you know, for example, you were saying that you were frustrated and a little bit annoyed that you had to do the extra 10-minute journey, but you still did it. What is it about the male ego that would actually make a man say, do you know what? Is it spite towards the mother, would you say?
Listen, certain men don't like to be told what to do by their boss. Yeah? We're talking if someone at their job says, you know what, I need you to, I don't know, clean this table today. I'm a big man. Who are you talking to? You can't tell me what to do. Yeah? You now bring that same attitude towards your child's mum and you feel they're telling you what to do. People aren't having it. But there's also a confusion for me. There's certain men, I feel like with a co-parent relationship, yeah, you should treat it like business.
Yeah.
Yeah? So, for example, you wouldn't tell your boss at 8:59, you know what, I'm not going to make it today. And you're meant to be there at 9 o'clock. You wouldn't do that to your boss. And if you did, you wouldn't do it consistently because there's a risk of, you know what, they may fire me and I may lose money from this. But in co-parenting, you're cool to let your baby mum know at 8:59, you know what, I'm not coming today. Or you may not even let her know because you feel that there's no consequence to that. You know what? She ain't going to stop me from seeing the child anyway. So I can... And that's where us as men have to start holding people accountable. Like I say, men should hold men accountable. You know what? If someone in your circle is... You know they're taking the mick when it comes to investing in their child or how they're treating their child's mum. We need to speak up more.
Yes, absolutely.
But instead, every time I say this, I have men saying, no, but women need to do... Let's just focus on the man for this moment in time. I'm not saying women aren't difficult. I'm not saying there's women out there that aren't stopping men from seeing their child. We can get to that. But right now, let's just focus on the men that are actually actively being difficult with their children's mum just to have control and going out of their way not to see their child because they're making all these excuses, but they can be in the club. They can have the latest trainers on. Yep. Yeah. They can go on holiday. They can drive the nicest cars, have the jewelry, but their child's going without. Where are our priorities here?
Where are the priorities? Where are they? And I like the fact that you mentioned about the controlling aspect, because when it boils down to it, a lot of these behaviours are down to feeling in control. But you see, the consequence of that is that the relationship with the child suffers. Because also what people have to bear in mind is that parenting is exhausting. It's exhausting. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of mental work. It's emotionally exhausting. So when the mother of your child has scheduled in with you for you to have your child, there are so many things that she probably has planned in, or she might just want to rest and actually not do anything. So what then happens when you do not turn up? She then has this responsibility again that she has had for the majority of the week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month. Now, what I want people to take serious, and this is what Love Laid Bare is all about, is that your mental well-being is paramount. Now, you may not particularly care about your child's mother or father or what have you, but any type of stress that they endure, there is no way that it's not going to spill out into other areas of their lives, and namely your child, okay? So if you, and this is why I kind of feel like what I'm trying to say is that you almost do have to care about the well-being of the child's other parent, because how are they going to parent effectively if they are highly stressed? It's very difficult, you know?
I think that's a good point, and I think we need to be considerate to what the other person's going through, in the sense of that just because the dad only has the children every other weekend doesn't mean he's not going to be exhausted, doesn't mean he might not be going through mental health issues or really run down and depressed for a number of factors. Yeah. I think we can't just look at what someone does and say, oh, that's all you have to do. Yeah. Oh, you've got it easy. You only have the kids every other weekend. Yeah. You've got it easy. You have no idea what my life is like outside of that. But I also feel we need to be more appreciative, right? We're so quick. I'm not going to say we, but co-parents can be so quick to say, you never come on time, you never pay on time, you never do this, you never do that. But we can also be like, you know what? I really appreciate the fact that you're never late.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, I really appreciate the fact that you've helped out or you've done this or you collected. I'm not saying you have to, but I'm saying if you're someone that's so quick to point the finger for the negatives, also be willing to...
Be as quick to actually give them the thumbs up.
Encouragement, yeah, 100%.
And positive reinforcement works an absolute treat. You'd be surprised by how maybe even changing bits of your behaviour towards your co-parent can actually benefit the relationship in its entirety. I mean, I even use myself as an example. You know, I've had you know, some teething issues when it came to co-parenting, but I think one of the things that was always kind of paramount in my mind was, okay, I might want to act this way, but does that benefit my child? Does it benefit her if I continue this squabble with no resolution? And in all things, I always say, in my height of annoyance, in my height of maybe disappointment, I always say to myself, if I react in the way that maybe I want to, does this benefit her? And 10 times out of 10, it doesn't. And, you know, you need to learn to sometimes not react, yeah? Meeting someone or coming back at someone with shouting, swearing, isn't going to resolve anything. It doesn't make you any weaker to not shout or to not swear or to, you know, try and get your revenge in some other way or some other ways. Like, you know, maybe last week he didn't pick up the kids on time, so when you go to pick them up, you're just going to turn up an hour late just because you want to be a cow. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't aid the relationship. And honestly, little steps can actually eventually help to build a better foundation. Do you know what I mean?
You know what, hearing you say that, right, about reactiveness, I feel like that's why I'm very supportive of texting. Because when you know, every time we talk on the phone, we argue, yeah? Or he says something and I react and then I look bad or whatever. If it's texting, you get a chance to read and actually process what's been said, yeah? So if you're someone that has the energy to actually swear in a text, you've actually, like, think about, like, when it's reactional, yeah? You know what, they've done something, oh, you know what, F you, yeah? It's reactional. If you've got the energy to actually type F you in a text, that's a different level.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can read the message, you can process it. You know what? Let me get my thoughts together and actually write a response, or show it to someone. Is this response
okay?
Like, rather than just straight away. And the benefit to texting is the other parent can't say you didn't say something.
That's true.
It's written
down. Yeah, I'm a big advocate for that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Written confirmation is always beneficial.
Because there's always, you know what, I said I'll come at 8. No, you said 7:30. Well, it's written down. I said I'll pay you on the 1st. Well, like, no, you actually said the 31st. It's written down. You can't have mixed messages in text messages. Yeah. Like, it's written down. It is what it says.
Do you know what I want to go back to? You know, when you were talking about, particularly like from the women's side, you don't understand what the man might be going through in, you two might not have that much contact, and you have this assumption that, well, you only have the kids 2 days a week. You know, things are hard right now for everybody. Okay. And, you know, whether it be financially, whether it be mentally, you know, there's so many different stresses added on.
Everyone's going through it.
Everybody is going through it. And I feel like the more men I speak to, they don't really feel heard in terms of like their experiences. As a man, and I think what I found generally is that, you know, I think men are getting better about speaking up about how they feel and what they're going through. But I can also imagine that if you're dealing with an ex-partner that, like you say, you can't stand, then you're unlikely to open up and say, do you know what? Last week, I might have felt suicidal, or, you know, my anxiety is so bad that I can't leave the house, or my depression is so bad that I can't leave, that I wasn't able to work last week.
Yep.
And this is why the money is short. How do we get through that?
I feel like grandparents can be a great way if you're lucky enough to have them around. For example, like a man's mum or dad might actually still have a great relationship with the mother of his child. They could simply have a conversation with them on his behalf, or there could be conversations that go along, right, you know what, he's actually going through this at the moment, like just be mindful. But there is that feeling of like I've been through situations, because I co-parent, obviously I'm not with the mothers of my child, right? But I've been in other relationships. And there was a point where one of my relationships, not that I had multiple at the same time, by the way, that sounds a bit mad, but I had a relationship that ended. And when that relationship ended, I went into a complete depressive state. Yeah, I wasn't eating, I lost weight, like it was horrible for me. And I still had to have my children on the weekends. And I found that when I had my children, I then felt worse because I'm not doing certain things. They want to go to the park. They've got all this energy and I just don't.
You don't have it.
So I felt even worse. And I didn't necessarily talk to my child's mum and say, look, you know what, this is going on, that's going on. But I did say to my mum, this is what I'm going through. Can you help me out here?
Yeah.
And my mum was able to help on certain weekends and do whatever. So I feel like grandparents can be like those, unspoken heroes. I think, that's definitely something I would promote. A man can talk to his mum, a man can talk to his dad. He doesn't necessarily have to talk to the other co-parent. I'm not saying it wouldn't be nice to, but I'm saying talk to someone.
Yeah.
Talk to someone that can actually help you.
In your kind of friendship circles, do you talk about those types of things with your friends in terms of how you're feeling and your moods and, you know, how it might be affecting you as a dad and stuff like that?
Yeah, but I think this is what to me, being a man is about being vocal as well. Being big enough to talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about I'm a big man, but I can't talk to no one. No, I just deal with it. I'm of an age, as I've grown, I now only have people around me that I can actually talk to. I don't want anyone in my circle that if I said to them, look, I'm going through something, they're going to say, look how weak you're being, or you know what, you just need to fix up. No, my people in my circle are very supportive. They empower me, they uplift me. And I think as men, we need that. We don't need people that are only with us because of the jewelry we have or the money we have or the way we was when we were 16. No, we need people in our lives that are actually empowering us to be better men, better fathers, better partners, better husbands. Like, that's all I want in my circle. I've got no time for anyone that if I turn to them and said, I'm feeling depressed right now, you know, they'd tell me to fix up.
Yeah, because it's not helpful.
At all.
It doesn't get anywhere. I think it's very beneficial for men to be able, like you say, to hold each other accountable and maybe start the process of just being open with your male friends. And, you know, even if it is over football or you're having a drink, you have no idea how uplifting and the clarity you can receive when you just have a conversation. I feel like, particularly in the Black community, like I say, things are getting better now, but, you know, I think men have been closed off for so long about talking about their emotions and how they're feelings or how they are feeling, that it's having, you know, a detrimental effect. So I found a study that was conducted in 2021, and it basically says that parental separation has been associated with adverse child mental health outcomes. Spending equal time has been associated with better health and well-being for the child. Co-parenting quality is a key determinant of mental health in preschool children. So let's say you have both parents. Let's say the mum's working full time, she's also dealing with the kids the majority of the time. She's just generally stressed anyway, but she's kind of managing. Then you have the dad, maybe hasn't got as much of a support network as the mother does. And let's say he is suffering from depression. He has no idea that he is even depressed, but he's using things like, take your pick. It could be alcohol, it could be weed, it could be it could be a slew of women that he kind of goes through, and this is what he's using as his coping strategy, right? Now, that could then potentially affect his ability to parent as well as he may like to. Okay, now. But because he doesn't have the same support network or hasn't been open to, verbalizing how he's feeling and actually maybe taking a step back and saying, okay, what am I running away from that is making me use these different things as coping strategies? Now, the knock-on effect to that is, well, if your mental health is suffering, it's likely that can cause friction in the co-parenting relationship. If there's friction in the co-parenting relationship, as this 2021 study shows, this can potentially have a detrimental effect on the child's mental health. Now, the reason why I even did Love Lay Bear was because, there were so many projects and there's so many things aimed at children and the youth, preventative work, this and that, but there wasn't really anything for the adults and the parents. So, whilst we're talking about co-parenting, naturally being a mental health and well-being platform, I have to lean into, that kind of side of things. Now, you touched on the fact that you had obviously suffered from depression and you were able to speak to your mum to help out and stuff like that. What other things were there that you kind of did to kind of manage that time?
What didn't work was staying in bed. Let me just start there. There was days when I was just in bed. I remember one point I was fully dressed. Like I'd got fully dressed and then I'd laid on my bed and I was looking at the ceiling. 2 hours must have passed. My intention was to go somewhere, but I just ended up falling into this kind of, I don't know, state. For me, gym, was a massive help. Having something to say, you know what, I'm just going to put my energy into this, or actually started to eat a bit better, started to hang around with certain people. I think your circle is so important.
Yes.
People to identify he's going through it. I've got a friend, I'm not going to name names, but I've got a friend. And me and my other friends will talk about this friend, but in the sense of, have you checked on him? I think you should check on him. I spoke to him the other day. It would be nice if he heard from you. Let's all meet up. That's a good circle. Do you know what I mean? Rather than friends that don't want to be, you know what, he's just broken up with his girl, you know what, I'm just going to leave him to it.
Yeah.
No, your circle, power circle. It needs to be a power
circle.
circle.
Power circle, yes. Yes. Power circle is so important. It's so valuable. I mean, even, for me, I've never called it a power circle, but actually I'm going to now because, I've got a key set of, male and female friends that are and have been my absolute rock in the bad times. And, I love them because they hold me accountable. It's non-judgmental. If I need to be vulnerable, I can be vulnerable, whether they're men or women, and it's so important that you build that type of tribe around you and something that's not, like you say, centered on, just going out or just watching football or just doing all of those things. You need to have that emotional connection and support with your peers.
That's one of the reasons. So I started running men's groups. It's via Zoom. It's remotely done, but it's for fathers and men to come together, discuss certain topics, to empower them, because not everyone has a good circle.
Yeah.
And to take time out and say, you know what, that men will invest £200 into trainers, but they won't hire, I don't know, a coach that can help them with their mental well-being, or
a therapist.
Or therapist. That therapy, literally, I've got therapy this evening.
I had therapy this morning.
Yeah, see, and this is I think this is my 17th session.
Wow.
And going into it, I was so skeptical, and I'd put it off for years, because I was like, I don't need a therapist, like, I'm cool. But going there, and I remember meeting the guy for the first time, and he looked younger than me. I found out, I don't think he is, but he looked younger than me, and straight away I was like,
this is long.
how am I going to reveal, like, I've been through more than he has.
Yeah.
So how's he going to be able to tell me about my life when he's younger than me? And I was also in the sessions, I remember my first session, I'm talking to him, and I'm waiting for him to give me answers.
Yeah, it's not how it works.
And he wasn't giving me answers. And then I realized, he's getting answers out of me.
Yep.
That I wouldn't be able to do if I just spoke to my friend. Or like, he's actually, I feel like we've all got certain friends that even if we was talking to them for an hour, we would feel bad. Like, you know what, they're just listening to me ramble for an hour. You know what, let me stop, whatever. But when it's your therapist, you can just go.
Yeah.
There's no judgment. Like you said, you can just go, you can just be. And therapy literally changed my mindset, changed my way of thinking, changed my life. Big advocate for therapy.
I love that for you.
I love it.
I love that for you. So, guys, you've heard it loud and clear.
Get therapy.
Get therapy.
Just like you go to the gym, like that is like a mental gym for me.
Yeah, and it's very it's so invaluable. Like, I can't even. And I think particularly when you become a parent as well. I remember my therapist kind of saying, there were key points where you should absolutely consider therapy, and that's when you're entering a new relationship, when you're considering, or when the couple have fallen pregnant, and actually at the beginning period, because these are key areas where conflict in relationships can happen. And actually maybe we could save, some relationships, or maybe even understand and get to a point where you might realize through therapy that actually, do I even want to have a child with this person?
Which is the importance of planning for a child. But just touching on that, I feel like we spoke there about the mum maybe going through stuff and the dad going through stuff. And we focus on that co-parent relationship, but I feel like both of those people could also be in very good, healthy relationships with other people.
That's true.
Which can really, like, my child's got a stepdad, right? So that means his mum is married. So I'm comforted. I know a lot of people find this weird, men-wise anyway. I'm comforted by the fact that if my child's mum goes through those kind of moments, she's got a man there.
She's got support there.
That is going to have her back.
But you know that, like you said, a lot of people might think it's weird, but new relationships was something that kind of came up in the comments quite a lot. What is it with people not accepting the other parent moving on, and why, and what effect does that have on your co-parenting relationship?
So when I put together this that positive step-parent video on Insta, right, it was me saying I'm happy that my child's mum has met someone, they love each other, because my child gets to benefit from that love that's being shown. I had men in the comments, well, you was just a sperm donor. Yeah? Think how that's how we think meant you was just a sperm donor. So in other words, because I've had a child with this woman, I should now stay with her, even if I'm making her unhappy, because leaving would make me a sperm donor. If another man steps in, then I become a sperm donor. This is why... That
doesn't even make sense.
It makes no sense.
It literally makes no sense.
You can even, like... The way us as men think, it's like we're not actually focused on what's best here. Yeah, we're focusing on how does it make me look as a man. Yeah.
How does it make you look as a man? How does it make you look as a man? Like, ask yourself, how does that make you look as a man? And I'm looking you in the eyes.
I'm
right now.
happy my child's mum is happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. And I know that if I meet someone and I settle down and I get married, my child's mum would be happy. I'm not saying she'd be at the wedding. I wasn't at their wedding. I wasn't, do you know what I mean, walking her down the aisle. but
Throwing cafe.
But like, I was happy. Obviously, when I found out, you know what, they're getting married, there was that element of, rare, my child's gonna have a stepdad. But I thought the guy was so cool that I was happy for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the importance of, like, if I get with a woman and she has kids, I have the discussion about wanting to meet her child's father.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas, and maybe that's because I've got kids myself. So I'm like, I would want that if it was the other way around.
Absolutely.
Whereas some men who maybe don't have kids don't encourage that. You know, I don't need to meet him. And then the dad, it's like, no, like, it's beneficial if you and the child's father can get along. If you as the partner and the child's father can get along, that's so much more beneficial.
Amen.
And the child actually finds comfort in that. Imagine if I hated my child's stepdad and my child's called me Bradley before.
Oh, really?
It's that slip. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
How did that make you feel?
He's gone, Dad. And I've just made a joke. I don't want him to feel uncomfortable. And he's around the stepdad more than me.
Yeah.
So it's understandable. But if I was like, would you call me? Don't ever do, like, he's now going to feel terrible for doing something he didn't mean to do.
It was a mistake, yeah.
So I make light of it, and it's only happened once or twice. I make light of it and keep it moving. I want my child to feel comfortable. That's like you said, we refer back to what is best for the child.
Yeah.
Because if he's comfortable, if he's thriving, he's going to benefit in so many fields, in school, outside of school. We have to focus on the child. Another thing I've noticed is that I feel like there's a lot of women out there that have children and have maybe been told by the child's father that no one's going to want you because you've got children. You've got my children. What man's going to take you on? You've got 2 kids, 3 kids, 5 kids. No one's going to want you. And I feel that brings that kind of depression onto a woman. Like, you know what? Oh my God, like, maybe I should be with him because what other man's going to want me? There is always going to be someone. There may be a man out there with 3 kids and you have 3 kids. Like, he's thinking the same thing. Who's going to want me? I've got 3 kids. But the right man will want you, but he has to want you and your children.
Yeah.
And I just think that a good man looks at a woman and looks at, you know what, she comes with these 2 children. I take you as a package. You should never be made to feel uncomfortable because you have 2 children. A man should never make you feel like, oh, you've always got your kids, or, oh, you know what, this, or it should be very kind of like support, willing to work around you. And that's why, to me, it's important that, I guess, women I've been with in the past have had children because they understand, you know what, that's my weekend with my kids.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's an easier conversation, I guess, to have, and just makes it flow.
Yeah, like there's not a pressure as well. Like, you know what, I need your time all the time. Like, no, I understand you've got children. I've got good relationships with my child's mum. Another woman might find that uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I just think we need to be, I don't know, I just want women and men to feel a bit more confident in the fact that the older you get as well, the less likely it is that you'll meet someone that doesn't have kids.
Realistically, yeah, realistically. It's you know, it's hard, and I think, you know, you know, being a mother myself, not that I've had any real trouble in terms of dating and stuff like that, but these are things that do go through your mind, you know, because you're not as available, you can't be that spontaneous when it comes to, you know, random dates and stuff like that, because you have to schedule in, you know, childcare, stuff like that, and you know, even having to sometimes jump through those hoops can sometimes be daunting, and particularly if you've been with your child's other parent for a long time, you know, stepping out into dating mode is daunting in itself. But then also to have that kind of threat embedded into your mind that no one else is going to want you, it can wreak havoc with your self-esteem. But just always know that that's another means of control over you. That's all that is.
And that word there, it is definitely control. You know what, if I throw these words at you, it's going to make you feel guilty, it's going to make you feel unsure, it's going to lower your self-esteem and decreases the chances of you actually wanting to go out. But I feel, I've had women in my comments say, you know what, I wouldn't want my children to have to meet another man or to feel uncomfortable, so this is why I'm staying single. And I feel like it benefits the child if the child sees a healthy, loving relationship.
Absolutely.
So if that child can see mummy with another man, if it can't be the father of your child, hopefully it is, but if it can't, with another man and sees mummy is happy, look at mummy in love, that child is going to learn what a healthy relationship looks like.
Absolutely.
If your child has if your child has only ever seen what the relationship between mummy and daddy looks like, and you know that relationship hasn't been healthy, it's actually been quite toxic, you've argued a lot, that is the impression your child is getting as they grow as to what a relationship should look like. And therefore they will seek and probably stay in relationships like that.
Absolutely. I mean, that is a whole nother topic.
For
another day. But we're going to wind down the conversation now. I mean, do you have any closing points that you'd like to
No
share?
closing points, just the fact that I'm proud of you. Like, on a real, like, you've actually, like, I know how social media can be, and I know when we take a break sometimes, we doubt ourselves coming back.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but I just want you to know that what you do is so wanted and needed and very different to what's out there. So just always remember that as you go forward.
Oh, thank you.
No, proud.
Thank you. Oh, it's kind of throwing me off a bit now. Thank you for
It's been lovely.
coming back on to Love Lay Bare. A lot of people are looking forward to this episode. I had one comment saying, yeah, you know, he talks so much sense. Oh, yeah, and he's quite nice as well.
Oh, them ones?
Yeah. But no, honestly, thank you. Like I said at the top of the episode, I love what you're doing. I love how you've carved a niche out for yourself, and keep going, because the work is absolutely needed as well. So guys, if you've been affected by anything we've spoken about today, please head over to our resources page. There's a list of, you know, whether it be depression, anxiety support. We've got the BAATN network if you need to find yourself a black therapist. Whatever issue you're kind of dealing with, there'll be something there for you. Alternatively, you know, you can DM me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or drop me an email at info@lovelaidbear.com. And, you know, I'm always here to support you. So yes, that is it for today. Thank you for tuning in. I love you. And it's a wrap.
Love. Laid.